Hey everybody, we're shaving the tailgate today.
Years ago I bought this Streetline S10 tailgate relocator package, so mine's an 02 that works out. Best Chinesium you can buy. Okay, comes with the normal stuff. You got your screws, your piece of sheet metal which you will replace, and the bracket to go on the back. So we're going to make sure our Chinesium fits first. Take a T40 socket, pop out your kit. Next, there's two tabs right here. Holds this plastic. You should pop that off first. Yeah, that's right. Then, I don't know how well you can see that on camera. These little clips here. Push them out. Like that. Pull them out, you can just pull the rods up. There we go. Wow. So the piece of steel looks like will fit in there just right. And then a little bit of welding and grinding and Bondo will take care of, so that's a done deal. We'll flip it to the back side though. So this kit didn't come with any instructions, so I'm going to do what I do best, is make an ass out of you and me. I'm going to align the holes just using here a 1/4 inch by 1 bolt. This extra hardware I have, and that's strictly for alignment. That'll get me pretty darn close to where I will make a trace. I'm also going to go ahead and measure, so I have the straightest cut I can possibly have doing this. So it looks like just a little bit over 11.5. I played with this a little bit off camera, and it was kind of interesting how this kit is either set up or designed, or whoever designed it, whatnot. But first things first, I did end up trimming just a little bit on this side. I ended up making a 4-inch cut from here to here, and this one was about 6.25 inches lengthwise. So if that helps you in any way, great. What I mean by that is the depth of the kit seems about right. My handle is a little bit of cockeyed, which is kind of one of the reasons I'm doing this. This is aluminum, so I should be able to straighten out. I just haven't tried that yet. But what I mean by that is this. So this kit, before I slide it in all the way, has a lip on both sides. And I'm assuming that's designed for like two reasons. One, for the metal to butt up against the other metal, and the other reason would be that little plastic retainer that goes around it. But it would have been really nice if they would have took the time and bent it here, right? Because at that point I could have probably even cut this a little higher and have this bend match with this bend here, because now I have 3 gaps, right? You have this one right here and one on each side. One of those things, man. I mean, I guess they make these in mass production or whatever, so that kind of does suck. The other thing that's pretty interesting, which I haven't tested yet, I guess we'll test it right now on camera, just for curiosity reasons. Alright, the other interesting thing about this is how close these bolts are or would be to this sheet metal once it's welded in. Granted, you know, we are going to coat this really well, but I'm sure that could be some cause for concern even if you end up sitting something heavy on there. So I might end up grinding these bolts down just a bit to help out with that. Alright, maybe the Chinese aren't that stupid, maybe it's just this guy, me. So basically what I figured out is that a lot of people tend to install it the way I did, which was following the bolt holes, which is the wrong way to do it. And there is plenty of room to have the handle up here at the very top, right? So at the end of this plate will match up the curve like you see here, so there won't be all the seams.
I swear I hate this damn kit. The Chinese again.
Kit looks good. It looks like it will fit the way it should. And I even took off the bed liner just to make sure we had a nice flush fit. We have a gap now. Why do we have a gap? These damn bolts, like I was talking about before. And looking at my little rub test, that's where it's hidden. It's a lot of material. So this kit has just turned into a welding it on kit. Yay!
But before we do anything else, we want to make sure the handle's going to work. So we need to swap the rods around on the tailgate.
You look here on the side, you got 2 same of those torque style bolts. Just take those off. Same as the tailgate of T40. So once you do all 4 bolts, they just slide right out. And it's just like designed a certain way so it doesn't come out this way. But as soon as you start turning it a different way, it comes out. Right? And for the people who just don't know if they're doing this, or just out of curiosity, or doing it for the first time, whatnot, the way these hinges or the handles designed is you have one hole where it inserts in there, and you have the other one right there. It will not reach because, like this, where are you at? It won't reach because this handle's in the way, and the sheet metal as well won't just let it go through. So what you can do is, since this one is curved this way you need it, you can just swap the rods and it should work. Everything's installed now, everything seems to be working. Here's the top rod, you can see the orientation, and this plastic clip will just go around and snap, but I won't do that since I'm still mocking everything up. And then the back one is here, and it snaps in like that. So the reason I'm showing you this right now is because I know I previously had said that I was going to cut the extra that I accidentally cut off, but now honestly it just, to me, it seems easier to leave it open that wide, just because, I mean, I have big hands, but you know, you gotta think, if this handle ever breaks or whatever, you're gonna want that extra room, right? That's what I'm thinking anyways. here's the wheels. They're basically just kind of 3 tack wheels on each side. It's hard to see those. There we go. Definitely strong enough to hold this handle on, that's for sure. And we definitely got a good enough penetration on the back, I would say. So we'll take off the bolts, hit it with some spray paint so it don't rust in the future, and install it.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
Cool, she's as well lit up as far as she'll go. But despite our best intentions, you can see right there from the light, we had metal warpage. Based on just the condition of it, we've had warps maybe in 3 or 4 places. So we had one here, looks like we had one here, and I can't tell just yet, but we might have one here and one here. So my shirt weren't wet enough, unfortunately, but you know what, things like this happen, so that's why it's important to know what I'm about to teach you. Basically what I have here is a long block, and I just have some 120 on it. You can put, you know, between 80, 180, doesn't really matter. Since we stripped this tailgate down to bare steel here, and we have, which you can see, I'm assuming it's aftermarket tailgate, so I'm assuming it's like that black coating so it doesn't rust. No primer, paint, primer, or filler primer of some kind, primer, and then paint. So realistically, we're going to tear all this down, which wasn't really too worried, because we do have some failed adhesion, like for here example, you know, paint up there. We have some weird bubbling going on over here in the tailgate. So regardless, this tailgate's had issues, which is why, you know, I didn't really care too much. But to find our high spots, here's what we're gonna do. All right, you're back on the tripod. Basically what you wanna do is you wanna go in an X motion, kinda like this. All right, so you have your sand grains going in one direction. Can you see that? Whoops, my bad. Okay. You have your sand grains going in one direction like this. When you're confident in that, you can go your sand grains in your other direction. Okay? So we know for sure, I mean, there might be a little spot there from a previous whatever, but it's nothing serious, okay? But we're gonna take this step and apply it to what we've been doing over here. So we're just gonna go one sweep. So basically tells us what we kind of already knew. We have a low spot here. We have a high spot here, as you can see where my X is kind of intertwined here. We have a low. There is a groove that runs parallel to this line, so we do have to keep that in mind. And it's hard to tell here. I'm assuming, based on the way this is all acting, that this is high as well. But high spot, probably have a high spot.
feels like a high spot here. This might be okay. I guess you can kind of tell that by this little gap right here as well. So this would be high, and this would be dips back down to low, and this is normal, more or less. So I guess you'll jump into another time lapse until I figure out where all my problem childs are, and I'll show you how I fix them. I also confirm this is a high spot as well, and probably some of these welds here are a little on the high side as well.
See what I mean, guys? This primer is super weird. I mean, its pot life should be longer than, I don't know, 30 minutes in the gun. Not even that, probably less. And I was still having trouble spraying it. It came out more of a texture. I guess you can see it there on the third coat. I don't know how well that, yeah, there you go. Versus, see if I can find a spot I didn't touch. I was trying to make it even, you know. I guess it's so hard to tell on this light. You can kind of see the unevenness of the spray pattern. I mean, it was at 40 and I bumped it up to 60 trying to get the lead out. It didn't work, so that sucked. I shouldn't have sprayed it the third time, but you know, you try to do right and put a good amount of primer on the panel. Alright, check this out, fellas. This is the point of failure, in case anyone was interested. Not too much light. You see, we can see a little bit of light down there, but not much. And it's just the way it sat in the gun. I guess it just started to harden. And you see, this is what was giving me such trouble when I was spraying it earlier. Which really sucks, you know. Like I said, this primer, I mean, I'm using it because I have it, right? But it's honestly been a pain in the ass. It was one of those things like, hey, would you like to buy this primer? It's a little cheaper than the UTech primer. And I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? But honestly, now real quick before you see the time lapse of me doing everything, I'm actually going to go ahead and wet sand this with 180. I know it's a little early to be wet sanding. This is just a preference of mine. I like to wet sand to see where I'm at. You can usually guide coat here too, but with the color of this primer, I'm able to wet sand it and see what's dark and what's light. The flash hasn't set enough, you know, it hasn't been long enough for me to be able to spray something over without sanding it. So I'll be able to spray the 2K primer right over this, no problem. I just like to do it because it kind of gives me a chance to use almost one sheet of sandpaper instead of multiple sheets and clean my floor.
This is a Tailgate production.
Alright, she is wet sand with 180. Now obviously what I was telling you before, here you can tell somewhat of a low spot. The darker gray areas is considered low spots, right? So we have one there, we have one, you can kind of see it right there, pretty much. Looks like we got a little bit on the edge. That could have been me from lack of sanding, not really sure. Alright, if we go over here, we can kind of see the body work we previously did. And we have low spots basically on the edge where the filler meets the metal. So basically here are our low spots. You can kind of see it there. Realistically, all the repair we did, this is where we're at. And you can even see it here. I uncovered some steel there, as well as a low spot there. Yeah, like I said, it's not a perfect white. It wasn't perfect, even though as much as we sanded it, you'll never get it perfect. That's why you kind of cheat. Now we're going to spray something called the UTech 2K100 Surface. This is basically a filler primer. And once again, we will refer to the technical data sheet. If you don't know how to use this, it's actually pretty simple. Alright, we're here at the technical data sheet. You can see the primer is called a 2K primer servicer, and then you activate it, which you saw back there. It tells you how to spray it. So for example, we're using a high volume, low pressure, gravity fed gun, which is that right there. It tells you the tip size and even tells you the max PSI. Now, I've never sprayed this at 10 PSI personally. I've always sprayed it like at 30 and it does wonderful. So it even tells you, 2 to 3 coats, following single coats, flash time between coats, how long it takes before it dries, an hour. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and mix this. This is a 4-to-1 ratio, as you see up here. And we'll get some good shit on there. it's past this flash point, I'm already seeing one weird spot right there. I don't know if we'll be able to stand that out. Who knows? So we're gonna go ahead and put what you call a guide coat on there. Now they sell powders and all that stuff. Honestly, I just use spray paint. As long as it ain't gloss. I mean, semi-gloss, you're not really supposed to, but I've honestly, I don't see a big deal in using it. And this is kind of like the pattern you're looking for when you're doing a guide coat with spray paint. Stop pixelating like that. You're just looking to mist it on. You know, you're not looking to paint it or anything. Just misting it on. That way when you sand, it'll outline the dark spots. Alright everybody, so here's where we're at. We've gone ahead and sanded this tailgate with 400 grit on the top side. This is about as smooth as we're going to get before we make our homemade sealer out of that gray primer. Also went ahead and scuffed all the sides and stuff. Didn't try that hard, but it is what it is. And the plan is we're just going to do an even coat over this, just so it's, you know, nice and uniform. We don't have nothing to worry about. We'll make sure our surface is clean before we lay down the color. So let's have some fun.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
Here to show you some products real quick. What we're using for color, we have Victory Red, and there's the Pinko WA9260, and there's like 6 or 7 different shades, could be wrong. And this is the exact chemical formula it takes to make this specific color. Now note, it's from an earlier model as Chevrolet. Mine's a 2002. This is 2005, 2010. So I purposely picked a brighter color because my goal is to paint the truck in the future a very nice bright red, but still Victory Red, so everything kind of matches. So this is actually, when you buy this, I buy mine from a company called American Fleet. It's hard to see. You actually mix this a 2-to-1 ratio, but the company I buy it for actually sells this to you per weight or per gram. So you can buy an option called Ready to Spray, where they basically give you paint and they give you reducer, add it in, pre-mix it. It's good shelf life for like 6 months when it stays in cool condition. So that is literally, I like this because I'm able to just pour that straight into a gun, spray what I want, whatever I don't need, pour it back. You don't have to worry about it. Theoretically, you could do the same, but if you buy color, it's not a shit show, but it can kind of mess you up. So for clear coat, we're using something called Pure Reflections 101. This stuff's cheap. It's not bad though. This also takes a mixture of 4-to-1. It tells you, it tells you on here how you want to paint it, and you can always refer to the TDS and SDS for more information. So yeah, this just takes 4 parts of this, 1 part of the activator. It's a slow activator. It's kind of my preference. Alright fellas, here's where we're at. The tailgate has been painted red, just color. This is a 2-part system, you can see. And I'll be honest with you guys, I can already see an issue right there, which we're going to see that, and you can't really see. It's not an issue, you can just kind of tell there's something there if you look hard enough. And looks like we were able to hide those other ones. So at this point, what people would do is let this flash and color sand this, okay, which means it would sand this smooth, which is doable. It's you know, very doable. My color is okay, you know. You can kind of see if I can get this camera to focus. There's some specks and stuff, random. I wouldn't say debris, but just there's some stuff in the paint. I don't care, you know. We're gonna go ahead and shoot straight with the clear now. Here we are, it's the next morning. You can see it came out pretty decent. There is a little bit of trash, as I call it, in the clear coat. You can kind of see if I move the light. But believe it or not, that's easy to buff out, so I ain't really worried too much about that. As I was talking about before, let's see if I can show you. There is a dent looking thing right there. These were previous things I didn't even address because I thought they were fine. Addressed by the previous person, but looks like they just kind of slapped Bondo on it, which sucks. And there's one here. That one was my fault. As you can kind of tell, it's just not shaped right. But all in all, there's no big deal because in the next video, we're gonna make a wing to bolt over this. And it's gonna look awesome. But your two coats of clear looks pretty good. The sides look pretty good. Honestly, I'm happy with it, right? So let's put this bad boy in the truck. Alright fellas, we were finally done. For some reason it didn't catch me installing the handle. I just ran out of space again on my camera. So just what I did real quick is I did drill the holes. I used a nut to space it out and I put a RTV sealant in there between it. So once this dries, stuff like that will be easy to remove. But yeah, I would say she's done. Works as a normal tailgate should. Thanks for watching. Peace.